4th Board of Education meeting to order. Before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, our first order of business is election of a Board of Education chair. Do you have anyone who wants to make a motion?
I nominate second for board chair.
Second?
Second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimous. Congratulations.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Turn it over.
I look forward to many hours in your office.
All right, that sounds good.
We couldn't ask for a better board chair.
Oh, thank you, Barb. And so with that, the next order of business is the election of a secretary for the Board of Education. Anyone like to make a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Al for board secretary.
Okay.
I'll second.
The second, Candace seconds it. Any other nominations? Okay, then I guess you're supposed to say, you got to have a motion to close nominations.
Nominations. Do we have a
So,
motion?
would you make that, Lee?
I'll make a motion to close nomination.
There you go.
I want a second.
Second?
I second.
Barbara seconds it. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, the nominations are closed. Now.
Any opposed?
Yeah, no, now we vote.
Good
Yeah,
grief,
so
man.
the motion is Al Littlefield
You're gonna
for
cry.
Secretary of Board of Education. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Passes unanimously. Thank you. And congratulations, Al.
Thank you.
And just a so I must say that Al and I do have done our little jobs and so forth, but I tell you, everybody else on this board is really doing a fantastic job. Chairs of subcommittees raise their hands to be on ad hoc committees, Bill volunteering to be on the building committee for school project. It's fantastic. It's just a joy to work with you folks, because you folks make it so easy. So. Okay, with that, can we all, those that can stand, including myself, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Public comment? Anybody want to address the board? Nope. Okay. We do have minutes for the approved, the minutes from the November 20th meeting. It was a regularly scheduled meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the regularly scheduled meeting minutes for November 20th.
Okay. Is there a second?
Sir.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
No, Candace seconded. Okay. Any corrections on those minutes? No? Okay. All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
I gotta abstain.
John and Candace abstained. Those are passed. Special reports. Conrad?
Okay, so not a ton for me today. A couple things to catch up on. So lots of service going on at the high school, especially for approaching the holidays. The Shoreline News Club has a holiday toy drive that's been going on in the main office here at Middle School as well. During the Thanksgiving football game, the football and cheerleading teams worked together to fill parts of canned goods. So running in good, and as well as a couple other service activities going on this upcoming Saturday, or not this Saturday, the 16th. The Peers Reaching Out organization here at the high school is going to be hosting their annual breakfast with Santa at 8 a.m. That's always a fun time. What else? We also had just this past Friday, the seniors versus teachers volleyball game, which was a big success fundraiser for the senior class. That was fun. Out of 3 games, the seniors won 2. Took the teachers, I think their whole all 15 players to get the win, but it was well played. I was on the losing team in that game. But yeah. Also coming up on the 22nd, of course, is annual high school extravaganza and telethon. And the organization that is this year is the Beautiful League, whose goal is to give every child with disability play baseball. So that's really a great program. Yeah. And other things coming up, we have on the 20th is the annual winter concert for choir, orchestra, and band. And there's also going to be a basketball tournament held at the high school from the 18th to the 22nd, involving freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior teams. And then those teams will play the two unified teams. And yes, and the other thing that I forgot to mention last time was the fall drama production, the Unnecessary Farce play, which should happen the 16th, 17th, and 18th November. I personally did not get to see it, but I heard very good things about it from people that did. So definitely a big nod to drama. I think that's it for me.
Questions for Conrad? Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. That's it for special report. That brings us down to consent agenda. Is everybody okay with consent agenda? Okay. All right, but I'll motion to approve the consent.
I make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
He seconds it. Okay, everybody all set? Let's see, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Consent agenda passes. And for those folks who are watching, the consent agenda was a trip to Costa Rica for next year during the spring break period, the week of April 14th. That's that. Okay, that takes us into discussion action items for the evening. The first one is discussion and action on the proposed East Line Public School calendar for 2018-19 school year. And our superintendent?
Yeah, after much discussion and deliberation and different venues and different parties, we really decided not to recommend any changes to next year's calendar other than moving that PD day off of September. We had one at the beginning, right after Labor Day this current year, so we moved that to a later time in September. As you can see, the 17th of that month. We worked with our PDAC committee, Development Evaluation Committee, and we're all in favor of keeping it the same. And I think with your calendar and the scope as well, and then we talk next year as or not, we feel the need to adjust around Labor Day at all. But as I mentioned, I think at a previous meeting, we've spoken to O&G. They'll accommodate us in any way, shape, or form. I don't see if it is trying to start after Labor Day and messing with PD, et cetera. They can make it work for us. So if anyone has any questions, we can talk further. But again, we've discussion on this.
Any questions, comments? No?
I said all my comments last time.
I did too.
Okay. So we, anybody?
Motion to approve the 2018-2019 school calendar.
Okay. Is there a second? Second? Barbara? Any other discussion, comments on it? No? Okay. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Who opposed? Abstained? Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 0. So that passes. Okay, that brings us to the next item, which is the East Line Board of Education calendar meeting dates for 2018. Put that list together, and as in the past, this is by our bylaws, we have to adopt it. That doesn't mean they can't change. So move around. Well, did they pick up anything that was not meeting dates? I didn't.
I just want to reiterate, we are working closely town, because remember we ran into
Yeah.
glitches last year, with Monday meetings when,
Board of Finance.
exactly, they were setting meetings and they were the same nights we had board meetings, so we really want to avoid that this year, so we're already on that. So hopefully we won't have issues this year.
Okay, anybody, nothing? No? Okay, and again, like if there's, when anything comes up, we can certainly adjust and move things, so. Okay, anybody else make a motion to approve the Board of Education meeting dates for the calendar of 2018?
I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Ed meeting calendar for 2018.
Okay, second?
Second.
Lee seconds it. Any further discussion on that one? No? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, that one passes unanimously. The next item for discussion and action is the proposed Board of Education committee assignment for 2018. We don't have to approve it if people want to reflect on what for this meeting date, but is there anything that people might want to discuss about mix? I certainly, and Jeff has also confided in me, that extremely pleased with how well the committee structures have worked. All of them have been really done well. I know, Barbara, you would raise a point about the logistics.
Personally, I have a request.
Yeah.
I don't mind being on 2 of our 3 main committees, but I would prefer not to be on policy and finance because they meet the same night, and it's a real strain on me to go from 11 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night with absolutely no break.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I would second that.
I'll third that.
Yeah.
I run out of energy. I'm not working. So.
Yeah,
Long day.
so I would prefer, I would like to switch with somebody and go on, if we're trying to keep, I don't know.
Is it?
Why don't we just
care
switch,
about
since
how many people?
3 of you have an issue, why don't
Yeah.
we switch the night of FFO?
Well, I've suggested that.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Not have it.
Not have it
right,
back with policy.
Right, because I would really enjoy to stay on both FFO and policy. I'm really enjoying the work that we're doing on those committees. So if there is a possibility to change up the
Right.
meeting dates,
If we can switch it, I'll stay on policy, but I really just don't
Because there's
want to.
3 of you.
Easy.
Yeah.
That's
I
easy.
mean, if there's 3 of you who are having an issue with the time slot, switch the Monday.
Okay.
So we do.
So you guys don't have
Yeah,
to
so
get
we'll
off
put-
your,
Yeah,
So AAA would be with,
that's good.
flip-flop it with AAA.
yeah, so now,
So there's nobody on AAA that's.
I would be the only AAA person.
Well, but then you have that
I'm one
problem.
person and I'm fine.
You're okay?
I'm fine with that. You guys are 3 people, I'm 1. I'm okay with that switch.
Be sure, because as it is,
She
you
likes
run.
bringing her lunch, too.
I like bringing to meetings.
All right, that's fine with me.
Jamie, you're no trooper.
that's an easy fix.
I mean, it's just, it makes more sense for 3
Okay,
people to
let's
not
do that.
change and 1 person
That's great.
too.
That'll work.
problem.
That'll work.
Because it is just me who's on AAA, who's on policy.
Right, so why don't you do AAA and FFO on the same
But
night?
I say that and it's Jeff on,
Then-
on
then you-
policy.
Fine
You're,
with me.
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So what happens to our just approved calendar?
I think it just,
No, this is, yeah.
It doesn't show up, really.
well, it does say, it says committee meetings are
We
on
can
there,
fix
but
that,
it's, we
yeah.
can,
That's easy.
Yeah, we've got to fill in
committee
the
meetings we
TBD
can change.
so.
Yeah.
Can we just add the Salem Co-op to the
Yeah.
liaison assignment list too?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
We need to, I don't know what.
Candace, you're
What are we adding to this,
Yeah.
to the list?
Who else?
board liaison to Salem
Salem.
the Salem Cooperative.
Oh. Who's on that?
Me and you and who else? There was one more.
There was one more.
You can have my cable advisors.
Oh, yeah, we should put that, we should put that down.
Good.
Just to remember. John.
John.
Was it Monday?
Maybe yeah, it could be. I think the two of us would be, is plenty.
Mine's a town.
Yeah, but it's still, you're still a board liaison to other committees, right?
Yeah.
Lauren's on there.
Yep. Yeah, okay. Town building, very good. Anything else?
Oh, Eric's here. Make sure we, Eric, we put him on fire. We put you on as chair policy, Eric.
Mixed it up.
I'm turning it over to you.
The only thing, Eric, that we're proposing was putting, instead of having policy the same day that AAA meets, because there's,
No,
FFO.
that FFO meets, yeah, that's right, that policy, the other one.
We're switching them.
It's not a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Everybody okay with those? Yeah. And again, if anyone has something, adjust, modify, and see that. Well,
Why don't we just,
and she's not,
why don't we just make the changes to this,
Yeah.
and then basically move this to the next meeting, instead of taking both up.
Well, we can, I mean,
Just take it, add this, change this.
yeah, okay.
And all this.
and I think off Jeff off of here, considering
Yeah,
it says
basi-
superintendent and finance
Okay,
director.
Yeah,
let's do that.
we can make
Yeah.
some corrections to this, and then move it to the next meeting.
We're just going to tidy it up and then bring it back to.
Much easier than, I was trying to
And then
look at.
Jill will have a
That's fine.
chance as well. Okay,
Bring these both back.
yeah, just bring both back to
Let's
the,
make this a discussion, okay?
yeah. Okay. All right.
Jamie, have her little piece.
Okay.
I have to.
That's right.
The next item is the, for discussion, elementary redistricting update. And Jeff?
Yeah,
anything?
I wish I had more information, but really Mike Zuba from Malone and McBroom will be here at the next meeting, so he's going to give us that full report. And I will check with him to see what he could give us ahead of time, so you can all view it if you want to as well. I think he's got the final, enrollment component. So I'll touch with you this week or
That'll be for December 20th meeting?
18th.
Oh,
Is it
okay.
whatever that Monday night is. I think it's-
Did I lose these coming correctly at the last?
Yes, and the numbers came in higher.
Yeah, I heard kids.
Yeah, Mike Zuba, 1218, yeah. Yeah. So that's, as soon as we have information, we'll get it for review, so he's done. Time to review it.
They said it's going to be when?
Next
18th?
Monday, the 18th. Sure.
Great. That'd be good. We should probably communicate that to the building committee as well, just in case anybody's interested in the town.
Yeah, definitely. We can,
Yeah.
Rocky.
Okay. Next item is the update on the elementary school alteration project. Jeff, you want to?
Yeah, we can kind of tag team this. As we had a town building committee meeting, it was last week, Tim, right?
Yeah,
Last week where OG.
Tuesday.
Last Tuesday.
Because that's,
And, yeah, they
Bill couldn't
came
make
to present the budget, ONG, and it was, let's just say we needed more information and a breakdown. They didn't provide us a
Tim
breakdown.
had a breakdown.
You had a breakdown?
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah.
I know.
Tim was emotionally in control, but there was some, let's just say there was some frustration.
Almost threw the architect across the room. He was on Jeff's cell phone, you know?
Yeah. So there was some frustration over not having clear breakdown of numbers.
Yeah.
So we have nonetheless scheduled another meeting. And
I'm
that will be-
surprised that they came to a meeting that
They had it laid out pretty well. I mean, it was but they didn't have the detail in it. We wanted to get into the detail of each of the major elements of the project at each of the schools, because the costs have crept up. And so, because we may have to make, as a building, and as you folks on the board, we may have to make some choices. And so we wanted that, extremely clear, so they didn't have that level of detail with us. So we scheduled another meeting for...
13th, Wednesday the 13th.
Yeah, is it Wednesday or Tuesday?
Wednesday the 13th.
Okay, Wednesday the 13th, yeah, that's right, Wednesday the 13th.
Yeah.
And Rocky, who's the chair of the building committee, and myself both volunteered to be guinea pigs with O&G ahead of time, which we're going to be scheduling some time to basically go through, hopefully that they've got the right level of detail, so that the building committee will be able to see it, and then you folks will be able to see everything as well. So it is,
6
pardon?
p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a very complicated project, and what they had to do was they had to make the estimator from O&G have to now do it in the format that the state requires, which is a different format than what all of the previous estimates were done in. So if you saw a line item for like drinking fountains for each elementary school, and it's $50,000 or something like that, that now is completely a different entity because it has to go under, it's broken down differently. So you just
Plumbing,
don't
parts,
simply add the stuff up. So we couldn't tell, what's going on. So that was the kind of the. But they've been they have been working very hard. The timing it's aggressive, but because the goal is to go out to bid in February, and then if that occurs, then everything else can fall in place for starting the construction in June. So.
Tim, when you were saying that the costs were creeping up, was there anything in particular that's causing the cost to go up?
We are going to get a lot more detail, and it's nice to have a couple of the folks on the building committee, Mark Salerno in particular as one, on the air handling systems for the schools, particularly Flanders. They're concerned about noise level for the units that we were originally proposing. So the architect has come back and said we're going to have to do duct work. And then there's no ceiling space in Flanders. There's nothing up there. So that makes it a little more expensive.
Okay.
But there was some other good news. I mean, so we couldn't see the whole thing.
But there wasn't anything like all of a sudden there's
No.
a big increase in something that's like
Like
construction
a
costs. are going
surprise.
up.
No. And everything else is, I'd say the estimator basically was saying, it's probably 80% of the things are identical to what they were originally estimated to be.
Okay.
And then there are a bunch some have gone down, some have gone up, but it has gone up a little bit.
Okay.
So,
When we have that clear add-on list separate.
yes.
Right.
All those have been
Those are all
pulled aside.
out. They're not in there right now. So Al Jakunski and company is coming, it's in January. I think it's the first meeting in January. All right, but he'll be here in January, and they're going to walk us through, as a full board, all of that information, so you have a clear understanding of it as well. So,
Okay. Lee?
yeah.
From here to, once we're actually starting the project, what are do we anticipate for there to be additional changes like this? I'm curious, in
Yeah.
terms of
There might be
potential for,
So where we're at now is, they're at what's it called? It's the architect's got these, it's massive amount of detail on all the aspects of what's in scope as proposed and everything. That's all, you know, on track. What the concern is that as they start doing some construction work, there may be a surprise. A wall that was thought to be strong, not as strong as it was thought to be.
Have a, yeah.
Yeah. So there needs to be contingency money still holding back to cover those things. So it's all a matter of it's scope creep with a project like this.
Right.
We can't renovate the buildings as new. So we're trying to fix them against, as well as we can, against the mandate or the remit for the overall arching project. But it's definitely a complicated project.
Absolutely. Not to say it's going to get more complicated, but you're right. Once they start looking behind walls and accepted, there might be other scope creep, and that's a term that really has been utilized. That could come forth, that we're going to have to talk about.
I see another hand. Jill.
One right
Hi,
there.
Jill.
I just have one comment. If I didn't say once, I said twice. I'm concerned about what's behind walls, around things. And they kept saying, no, we've got it taken care of, we've got a contingency plan, we have 10% contingency plan. I'm just concerned that all of a sudden that's now coming up. You know, we have brought up, or I'll say I have brought up that concern. So why all of a sudden that's coming out? Gee, I mean,
I don't
sorry.
know. I think what it is that the building committee is making sure that we have everything that was in the original proposal within scope. We're going to see exactly what the new cost estimates are for each of those, and if there's been a change, either it's gone up or down, that we're going to have real clarity as to why.
Have clarity
why that
before.
is. Well, no, the work hadn't been done.
no, I know. I guess what I'm
detail.
saying is, this concerns me that whoever's using that concern that we just, you know, we made something behind the wall. That's been addressed, and I think probably most of the people that have been in the building know we don't know what's behind the wall. There could be pounds and pounds of asbestos. So.
Well, I mean, for example,
It's just funny
all
that
of
it's
the
now coming
abatements,
up
all
now. That's
that,
all I wanna say.
they've had, you know, the engineers, everybody's gone through all the buildings and, you know, for those types of things. This is, you know, again, talking about, I think it was Lee's point, is, you know, that there still could be some surprises, you know, because.
But of course, when you build anything, there are always surprises.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be disrespectful or short-tempered, but it just, there's always surprises. I have never been on a construction project where there are not surprises. And these individuals are experts in this field. And maybe it was I just walked in the middle of this discussion. This is just one part of the discussion. But it just causes me concern. This is now, oh gosh, we've got some cost creeps because we think there might be something behind that wall. I've never.
Yeah, that's.
I like the way that you sent them back and told them that
Yeah.
they need to come back on the
Yeah.
13th with a better breakdown.
Yeah.
So that we can
Because
all.
that's
So
the
that
whole
would be
thing.
great,
We're
yeah.
protecting,
I know you're-
because I know that you folks are not going to approve anything
Right.
unless you see exactly, you know, what the issues are, what's, you know, and understand the big picture on all the items. So that's very,
It's just,
very important.
my level of trust is, I have some concerns.
That's a good reason why we left those add-ons still separate.
Yeah.
Until we have a full understanding of where the
I
dollars.
mean, how many of you been in a
much-
construction project, there's not a change order, or something doesn't come up?
No, there
Yeah,
always change
we're
orders.
expecting, those things.
Yeah. Yep, so, okay. All right, so anyway, so stay tuned. It'll be, going to be.
It's going to be a bumpy
We're
ride.
gonna have a couple, we're gonna have some exciting moments, I think.
Just one other piece, on a side note, the principals are working through some of the phasing and how that's going to play out next year. So they're heavily in the midst of, both Melissa, Linda, and Jeff, heavily in the midst of looking at that with ONG and working through that. What's that going to look like? How many rooms they have available? I don't know if that will come forth in January or
Just
not.
wondering.
Or
I'm
not,
excited to
but-
see what that's
Yeah,
gonna look
yeah, it's just I'd say maybe
August.
40% there, so we're getting there.
I just want to say that I happened to stop into Niantic Center's office the other day, and I saw their nice little display with carpets and tiles and wall colors. It was very cute. I love all the pretty colors. So it's nice to see all the new stuff coming along.
Yeah, we're working on floor prints, so you can see.
I saw those. They're very cute. I like them. Colors are nice and bright, and
So,
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Jeff out of the Green Bay Packer theme.
yeah, no, no great Packer, no Packers, no
When
Packers.
Aaron Rodgers went down, nobody wanted to do it.
they are good colors, thanks, Jamie.
And there are boards at the other two schools as well.
I just happened to be in that office the other day, so I saw it.
Good. Okay. Everybody all set on that? Okay. All right. Next item is discussion of the elementary, under instruction for the student assessment results presentation that we had to defer from the last meeting, and Amy was graciously with it.
She read the room well.
She read the room well. So,
I'm not reading the room this time. I'm doing it this time. Ready for it.
This is not 10.
First off, since I am giving you quite a bit of paper. This is not my forte.
Just not like you at all.
But, so in the years past, when this presentation has been given, the focus of this presentation has been on achievement. Meaning, this is how our kids did at this level on this assessment period. But I truly think that the district and what the teachers are speaking about, what I feel as though the expectations are in regards to central office and the board, is that we move beyond achievement, and we actually start talking about accountability, and we also talk about growth over time of our students. So you'll notice that what I'm going to talk to you about is sort of in that order. I talk to you first about accountability, I then go into achievement data, and Mike Susi will also talk about the high school achievement data, and then I'll end with growth, okay? What's really important, I think, within the accountability system, within the State Department, and I by no means am the mathematician behind the calculation of this, if I could just say for a disclaimer. But what you have included in your packet is you have a handout for school of distinction as well as 3 different documents in here. So just quickly, from an accountability place, for you as a Board of Ed, I think it's really important for you to know that we have 3 means of accountability on a yearly basis, okay? Typically, these come out in January, just so that you know. So that's why you receive 15, 16, because we won't get 16, 17 until January. That's when the State Department releases them. So first, what you have is the actual list of schools of distinction. Next, what you have is the actual accountability report that we receive across the district, which I'll go into in a little bit. And then the third thing that you have from us is you have our profile and performance report. What's really important is that as a district data team, these are the 3 points that we use for accountability to analyze and to look at, because this gives us a district purview as to what it is that we're trying to accomplish. This is also the 3 documents for you as a board. If you ever really want to know how we're doing across the district, these are the documents in which we want to draw your attention to. Also, to know that the State Department, everything I've given you is all public information. So my entire presentation, the numbers and the data is out there on the State Department website, which is considered EdSite. You log on, you can pull up any district you want, and you will find all of these reports and all of this data as well. So nothing I'm presenting tonight is not also open to the public. So any taxpayer could see this information as well. Okay, so I thought that was really important to know. Can I have the next slide? So what's really important about the accountability system, and I just want to describe this, is that what the accountability system does is that it takes us away from a child as a score. Okay? It makes us look at several different indicators. Go ahead, Grant. There are 12 indicators. And as you can see, based on what I gave you, the indicators, there are 12 different indicators, and you can go ahead through each one. You'll notice for each of these indicators, the reason why they do this is because they're trying to break down the culture at the State Department of we're only going to advertise that we are an ELA and math system. We are really focused on growth over time, but we're also focused on several other priorities as a State Department. So that's why you'll notice the 12 different indicators. So you'll notice that they're asking us in regards to physical fitness, arts, graduation rates, college and career readiness, courses, and as well as absenteeism. Okay, go ahead, Grant. What you have in front of you as far as the grid is our 15-16. And what I can do is on the next table 2, it gives you a descriptor as far as each of those. What I also provided to you tonight, just for your own, because the district data team, we had to be on this twice, is I also provided you, this is sort of the handbook that goes along with that chart. What this does is it tells you how every single indicator on there is calculated and where we get it from via the district, okay? What I think is really important for you as a board is that as you look at it, you look at the points earned, the percentage of points earned, and our overall rating, which is the 83.8%, okay? Yeah. Yep. So this is just quickly how to read it so that you're fully aware as to what column is. And if you go to the next one. Okay. So now what you have here is you have a comparison in regards to 14-15 and 15-16, so you can see our percentage points as a district and where it is that we maintained, where it is that we actually increased, where it is that we sort of need to improve on in regards to these. What you will notice is I by no means left blank on purpose the ELA and the math average growth targets. That's because the growth targets from the State Department didn't start until 15-16. We didn't have them in 14-15. So I don't want anyone to think that I was misplacing data at any point. Question in regards to sort of the comparison between the 2 years or anything that you're noticed as you look at the 2-year comparison. Any questions for me? Go ahead, Eric. The State Department puts together, they give it to us, and one of the things within the State Department is that they give it to us, and we are able to analyze and break this down, and I will tell you this is the first time that the district data team this year really looked at it and really began to break it down, so that we began to get a district view. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's good. You look at physical, so help me with physical fitness, which like, did we do something?
Yeah, so, okay, so this is a really good point. So one of the things that we gotta remember is that within the indicator report, so within the 3 reports that I gave you, in regards to the indicator report as well as the performance profile report, they are all contingent on the data that we input and we submit to the State Department. That data has been clean, that data has not been clean or accurate, okay? So one of the things that we need to ensure is that when we're submitting data to the State Department and we're submitting our state reporting and we're submitting things of that nature, that we have accurate data. That was a year in which we did not have accurate data.
Got it. So we didn't get that much better. It's the
Correct.
baseline was wrong.
Correct.
Got it.
Yep.
So some have sort of the same kind of question about chronic absenteeism, up 100%. What do you mean? Like we have chronic absenteeism of 100%, or?
That one's an inverse.
Right. That was in regards to that. So.
Well, that's why I'm like, wait, what?
Right. So what's really interesting is that within our absenteeism, we do have an issue with various cohorts of students in absenteeism. So one of the things is, right. So within the criteria, or to reach 100%, it means we received 100% of our points. So that means that we achieved the point value that they wanted us to, the index in regards to that, okay? That doesn't mean that that's the number of chronic absence that we have. It means that we have less than 5%. We're at 4.7%. Yeah. So it's really important that when you look at this grid, you look at the target, so you're really aware. And just so you know, that target column is the same for any district in the state of Connecticut. That's not just an East Lyme. Right. Okay, good. Yeah, we do not have 100% of our kids. But we do, I will tell you, in the district data team analyzing this report further, we spent the majority of last year analyzing our absentee trends, because that is the one indicator when we looked further in that we needed to do some work on, because we do have certain cohorts of students and are tiered in the way we intervene with students and the way that we communicate in regards to absenteeism needed to be worked on. So we're working on that this year. Actually, some of you at the middle and elementary school may have received a letter, an Infinite Campus at some point later on earlier this afternoon, and the fact that this Wednesday we're starting a robocall at the elementary and middle school, meaning an hour after the school day. Parents will be automatically called if their child is not in school and be asked to contact us at the school rather than doing a personal phone call. It's more of an automatic. We've also updated and created district-wide letters to go home to parents, and we have a better tracking system in regards to our attendance policies. And that came out of the data team analyzing this, as well as some of our principals continuing to see some trends with some of our students. Yes?
Thank you for making a copy of this. It's, yeah. What, just at a very high level, what data goes into generating the math performance index? What data are they using at the state to generate that number?
Our standardized tests in regards to mathematics.
Okay.
And then they compare it in two ways, so that you know where it says all students, and then they have high need students. And just to define for you, high need students means that it's a student who has one or more, either free and reduced lunch, a student with a disability, or an English language learner. So that's considered our high need student.
Comparisons, if we're going to compare to other schools, which I assume is something we're going to do, you know, we would, right? We not only compare about against ourselves, but we should compare against other schools, right? So we don't compare this percentage. We're going to compare our absolute index rate.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. You basically your overall accountability index and the absolute at the end is exactly your overall. But you may want to find that there's certain indicators in here that you want to compare via other schools. So you may want to say, hey, look, you know, our achievement in regards to math performance index for high need students is within the 70s. I'm curious to see what that index is in regards to other school districts. So you may want to get indicator specific because you can.
Right, and you want to compare the actual, because if you compare like 100% because you're below, you met their target.
Right.
Everybody's at 100%, but maybe some are much, you can't be over 100%, but you could be much better than where
Sure.
we are, so.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep. The other, on the next slide, we have actually for 15-16, so you're able to see all of our schools and their overall accountability index. The other thing that's really important is our participation rate in regards to standardized testing. If it was below 95%, these are things that you could be docked for in regards to your rating. If they actually notice that there's an achievement gap between any of the areas, one standard deviation apart, which is about 15 points, if you will, and then graduation rate gap. If there's a gap between certain ethnicities and demographics in regards to your graduation rate as well as length of time. What you will notice is that you'll see the category that our schools have been placed in. Schools in the top quarter based on the index are in category 1. Schools in the middle 2 are placed in category 2. You'll see where our schools land right now, which is why you'll notice that the 3 in category 1 were identified as schools of distinction, because they are ones. Yes, Barbara.
Of why the 2 schools that are in category 2 are in category 2?
Yeah, so what's great is the report that I gave you, I provided you the one at the district level. Every school that has one of these. So it's very easy to go ahead and identify the 2 schools and have them analyze it. And part of it is in regards to achievement in regards to high needs students, in regards to the area of mathematics, and then another is in regards to absenteeism for one school.
Okay, so basically they're in category 2 because of their math achievement?
Because of their high needs students' achievement in regards to mathematics. It's a commonality between the 2. Yep, so they didn't earn as many points as the other schools did in that area.
Okay.
Yeah, and absenteeism for one school. Yep.
The absenteeism is, I'm assuming, is the middle school?
The absentee, no, actually, it's.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
yep. Yep. Eric, do you mind that I'm calling in? Okay. Good.
So, I'm trying to understand the middle school results. So, is there, I don't want to say a penalty, but we have fifth grade in middle school. So how does that, is that negatively impacting our results? Because if you look at the elementary schools, if you just average a 3, let's just say it's about an 85-ish, right? And our high school is 88. So you kind of, and maybe I'm making too much of a leap, but it's kind of hard to believe our elementary is 85, then we drop to 73, and then come back to 88. Like, it's the same. It's different kids. Well, I guess, is this a trend? Is this, okay, you're right. This is just one set of data.
But statistically, it is proven that within our 6th to 8th, you will see a drop before you see an increase. So you will, it is very normal, I mean, for you to see a drop in regards to the middle school years. And there's plenty of data, and the State Department speaks about that a lot. I can show you overall the state trend in the decrease. The other thing is that's where we want to be careful when we do compare ourselves to other districts. We really, and Jason spoke about this last year when he presented as well, we want to compare ourselves to other districts who are 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right.
So we got to make sure that we're identifying that. Otherwise, we're not really doing a clear comparison in regards to that. Barbara?
Yeah, and also, isn't it true that the students who are, excuse me, who are counted and appear in the middle school data don't all necessarily end up in the high school?
Correct.
So it's really difficult to compare middle school data to high school data, because a lot of kids who get reported in our middle school data don't end up at East Lyme Middle School, at East Lyme High School, because they go to other schools. So there's a huge difference. It's really hard to compare them. Because the high school, there may be students in the middle school who are getting lower scores who never even end up at the high school.
But our elementary, so how I look at it is we kind of have like this, we're at 85, we drop, and then we come back up. Now, you don't take this that I think there's an issue with middle school or anything like that. That is not, I don't want anybody, I'm just trying to understand. It doesn't make sense to me unless what we're saying, it's just a different population of kids, which is possible. So if this is a trend, which is what you're saying, the norm is across all districts.
Across Connecticut, you'll see a plateau, a small dip, and then a high. That's what you'll see in the middle school years. That is consistent, and I can definitely get you that data as far as that's concerned.
It's not atypical.
It's because of the adolescence. It's because of the brain development and where they are, and it's just, it is what it is.
We've been there, we understand.
Yeah. Where they are is out in left field.
Okay, all right, so all the things that we're talking about.
Amy, I'm not sure about that in terms of, that kind of invalidates then their whole index model.
In terms of having something where if there's a dip, then how the standard is, that should be taken into account. What we're interested in is comparing how we're doing against the, kind of a standard.
Okay,
But if
so
the-
I think what you'll find, Tim, then I might be able to answer that, because that's sort of at the end of the presentations where I talk about growth.
Yeah.
And it's so that we're tracking specific student cohorts that are the same and how they're growing over time.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you'll see that the areas that we need to hone in on. That takes away that dip.
Okay.
It takes it out of dimension.
Got it.
Because
Okay.
it's about individual growth now. It's not so much about, okay, fine, this is our drop year. Here we go. We're watching a student data drop. Okay, well, next year we expect it to go up.
Got it.
Okay.
So before we move forward, I want to talk about the dip a bit, because what we're not talking about is the challenges that all 3 elementary schools are learning different things, and then they're honing into the middle school, and there's a huge jump in what the expectations are compared to what they've been taught. There's a huge jump. So, yeah, there's a dip,
and kids have a challenge and they have a transition, but there's a huge, and it's affecting a lot of kids, and yeah, they come to creep up. Well, not all creep back up. Some are continuously struggling because they're on that rat wheel. And then it continues on into the high school. So I love the data, and I think that this is great, and specifically, we have a whole new collection model for data. So I think that we're going to start to see even a bigger, in coming years, because we're handling it different, the data that's coming in. But data that goes from the elementary school should be going into the middle school, which I don't believe it has been going. Has it been? Unless I'm wrong, but I don't think so.
Well, it goes on either a team-based or an individual-based, and I don't know, Mr. Vic is under here and speak representing a school, but I will tell you that is why it's part of the district and school improvement plan for this year, because we want to get better in regards to that district sharing, and that 4-5 and that 8-9. So that is something that we are more consistently. The other is that Infinite Campus, we now hold the key to also be able to store student data over time. Now, I feel like we're close to being able to talk about that additional layer of Infinite Campus, being able to utilize it, but we have not to date. You are correct. Yeah, I mean, our hope is to improve that communication. Yeah, it's a real concern and area of focus, I think, for us. Please, I don't want to.
Yeah, I think what's important too is, we look a lot at instructional time, and what Amy said earlier, look at 5, 6, 7, and 8 being in a middle school. If you look within our DIRG, I think there's this up last year. Our DIRG. So if you think about our instructional time in mathematics and language arts, middle school is about 5 minutes a day. Compare that with what it is in our elementary schools too. There's a little bit of a catch-up, and you can, if you just look at scaled scores, which we're still on the top of our DIRG, so we're doing really well with our scaled scores in both areas. But you'll see that 5th grade dip. It's like they just don't have an hour and a half of instructional time in those core areas. But we've known that for 15 years because we really value the life arts rotation. It's part of the middle school model, and that's what we agree on. That school was built. So it's important. So there are so many other benefits to them. Have that life arts model, have that time, but it comes at a cost in a 6-hour and 15-minute day. So, they attribute a lot of that early 5, 6 dip to that instructional time, I think.
And what Jason was saying was that that it would seem that your growth data, and correct me if I'm wrong, in terms of the students, the high need students not making as much progress would, or even the language arts students at that level, would then also indicate that is tied in then also to all the things that Candace was talking about. So the adjustment for those kids is going to be, it's going to have more of an impact on them having less time in math and language arts, because the tier kids are supposed to be getting additional time, but even if they're tier students, in essence, they're getting less time. So I would think that's going to impact those, the progress, right? So then I guess your data team has to look at whether or not for those high needs students, perhaps the middle school delivery model might have to be altered. And I would also think that for those high needs students, the lack of consistency among the 3 schools would also have much more of an impact on those kids than the other kids, and it seems that your data is indicating that.
Right. So the other thing we want to think about in regards to the growth model is that we also have the other end of the spectrum, Or we have students who are high achievers, and are we getting them to grow enough within the growth measure? So there's another conversation
Right.
there in regards to individual growth. Grant, if you go to the next slide. I just want to show you the fact that this is public information, so if anyone visited that site and clicked on it, you'd be able to find this for any district that you wanted to, and it's there. The next one. What we're going to do is we're going to talk to you about achievement. So here is sort of the, if you will, the presentation typically that you're used to in regards to this is how your students did, okay? Mr. Susi is going to present a couple slides. I know that you already have his PowerPoint with you, but he's going to present a couple slides, and then I'll tie into the middle and elementary school for you. Okay?
Thank you. So each year we come before you and talk about our standardized scores. We look at SATs, ACTs, AP, and, well, CAP, but that's gone now. So we're going to spend our time talking about SATs, ACTs, and APs. Okay, next. That's just a quick outline of the assessments that we give. There was a change in SATs. They went from 3 groups of 800 to 2 groups of 800, and back to the total 1,600 model.
Oh.
We want to jump to the next slide. The other thing with SATs, since SATs are our state assessment, it's taken the place of CAP. Those numbers I'll report now. You can see our numbers, our total numbers, and how they relate to the state and national averages. When we get our overall SAT results, our numbers, you can go to the next slide, Grant. You can look over time, the last 5 years, but when you look at our overall SAT numbers, College Board combines all of our tests into one average number. So you'll see a little bit of discrepancy in numbers because we have the state assessment, and then we have the state assessment and all the other SATs combined. That makes sense? So as you see, we do very well compared to the state and the national average, both in math and in evidence-based reading and writing. This is the SAT subject test. This drills down if a student wants to demonstrate their proficiency in a content area, they can take a specific content area. And as you can see, our numbers over the years are relatively stable. Depending on the class, some classes like 2013 was a really high-powered class. So you'll see a slight uptick, but for the most part, we're pretty consistent in our performance. Something to highlight, national merits. So this is based off the PSAT results. We normally have a few semifinalists, and every other year or so, every third year, we'll have a finalist or two. That's nationally. So our students that reach that level are really the cream of the crop as far as performing on the PSATs. That's just some data for you as far as the changes to the SAT. And that's the, again, the state assessment. That's the test that they took in school, which is the state assessment. Just to touch on this, any questions actually? I want to just clarify something here as far as when you're looking at goal for math and reading and writing, when you look at the percentages of meeting goal, you see 87% for reading and writing and 57% for math. We drilled down a little bit on that with the College Board and asked them about those numbers. At first glance, it looked like there's a big discrepancy between those two content areas. And actually, the explanation that was given was that the reading and writing is somewhat subjective, whereas the math is very concrete. You either have the right answer or you don't. The other piece, too, is the way the College Board explained it is that this test is supposed to describe how the students will do their first year at college. And typically, more students will take a remedial math course than they will a English course. So our numbers are right in line with the state and national average as far as performance between English and math.
This is every kid in the high school taking the SAT, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Go to the next slide. This is the comparison from 2016, 2017. ACTs is another assessment that we use. You'll see the numbers are pretty flat. Our students perform a little bit better on SATs compared to the state and national average than they do with ACTs. Here's our last 5 years. Again, we're pretty consistent in our performance levels. So for our AP scores, one of the things that jumps out at me, and I want to just highlight, that our students perform very, very well on our AP tests. And we'll get to the next slide to really show drill down the data. But for students to potentially get credit for an AP test, they need to get a 3 or higher. And 90% of our students that take an AP class get a 3 or higher. That's incredible. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is that the percentage of the class, of 2017 class, who took one or more of the AP tests was 50%. That's a high number. So we have a lot more students taking the percentage-wise taking the test, and they do very, very well. This drills down the numbers for each content area. I want to draw your attention to the 1s and 2s. Most of the time people will look at the 4s and 5s. I want you to look at the 1s and 2s. Look at how many 0s and 1s there are there. Those are students that won't get credit for their performance on the test. A couple things with that. We've challenged our teachers to open the test up to more students. So we're not trying to restrict students taking the test. In other words, you can't take this class because you're not going to get a 3 or higher. That's not our philosophy. Our philosophy is, come try it, give it a shot, see what you think. There is a point where if the class is moving too fast or it's too challenging for them, they might drop down, but we give them that opportunity.
I love the fact that we're encouraging all students, any students interested to take an AP class. About what percentage
Of our students, I know 50% decided to take the test, but what percentage of students are enrolled in an AP course?
Let's see the total numbers on the bottom of a test that were taken. I have that number off the top of my head. So
That's totally fine.
that's the number of tests.
441.
Doesn't number
Okay.
of students. We have a student could take more than one
Right.
test.
Right.
I can get that number to you. I don't have it off the top of my
Probably
head.
close to 50%. If you're going to take the AP class, you're probably going to take the test.
Yeah.
The expectation is if you take the class, you will take the test.
Right, but some students enrolled in more than one AP.
Correct.
So that's going to.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, paint kind of a broader picture of how many of our students are opting into these higher level courses. So about 50%.
Yeah, I can get you that number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Slide 16 says 50, that data, is that correct? It says percent of the class of 2017 who took one or more tests. So if 50% took one or more tests.
30 students.
And do we require all students enrolled in the course to take the test?
That's our expectation.
That is. Oh, great. Okay. Good.
So at least 50% of the kids are taking at least one AP class.
So can I just add in, I'm sorry.
had your
I shouldn't be
chance. Hold on a second.
interrupting your presentation. But I just want to bring your point to, so indicator 5 is preparation for college and career readiness percentage taking courses. So what's really interesting is the State Department, when they look at percentage of courses, they look at AP, International Baccalaureate, and career technical education, because they're trying to get the percentage of 11th and 12th graders, not just college, but also career, that computer tech, those classes as well, so that they're clumping them all together to say, sort of, where are you with college and career readiness?
And how do we do on that?
In regards to that. And we were, in 15-16, we were at 88.5%.
Okay.
Of 11th and 12th graders.
And that's the not-read test that we give.
Yeah. So,
I just want to say that We have a lot of budding psychologists at East Lyme High School. I was just noting the number of kids who got 4s and 5s on the psychology AP test. That's like way more kids than in anything else.
Yeah, and the interesting part about that course is that that's probably the broadest profile of student that takes an AP class. You have your, we'll go to the other extreme, BC Calculus. There's usually 7 to 9 of those guys and girls. They've already taken the AB Calc, now they're advancing. That's a specific student. Psychology is come one, come all. That's a great opportunity for students to
Right,
try to
but that's like
challenge themselves.
54 kids got a 3, 4, or 5 on the AP psychology test. That's pretty amazing.
And the other amazing thing, I'm going to touch on AP Calc, AB and BC. If you were to look at our numbers over, I'm going to say at least 10 years, we've had stretches that only 5s. Only 5s. I mean, our teachers just do a phenomenal job. Now, some of the teachers that teach AP, but it's also the teachers that feed into those classes.
Right.
So, which is one of the reasons why we do so well. CAP results, we're moving past CAP. That's no longer a data point for us compared to anything. It was a standalone. And we were phasing out. We switched our curriculum over to NGSS ahead of time, so we're no longer focusing on that. Questions? I'll tell you, our students and our teachers make this very easy, look very easy. So, thank you.
Now pick up with additional achievement points. Thank you, Mike. Just quickly so that you can see them. I mean, you've seen them already, but I'm going to pick up with physical fitness because we want to include that as well so that you can see that over time. The other that you'll see is you will see the science assessment in regards to grades 5 and 8. Don't want to belabor you with too much with the, you can get in data overload, I know it. The other is in regards to Smarter Balanced for grades 5 through 8. The next slide, Grant. You will see the at level. So one thing I want to bring your attention to, if you look all the way at the right hand side, you look at level 3 and 4, meet or exceeded, you see your percentage there as far as students. Just want you to remember those numbers all the way to the right hand side and think that you may look at some of those and think that we're acceptable in regards to those numbers and that that's good enough for us. So I want to push your thinking on that a little bit. If you go to the next slide, you'll see grades 3 and 4. Look at the right-hand column in regards to 3 and 4, meet or exceeded, and sort of how we've marketed our students before and how well they have done. But with that, I want to push your thinking a little bit in this slide where we talk about achievement versus growth. So this is where the conversation shifts, okay? So it is one thing, as the State Department decided, to have snapshots of how kids did on a day in that moment in time against the standards. So that's where that percentage and that, you know, this child is on a level 1 as of today and in this moment. Where the conversation shifts is when you look at growth targets. So you may say, hey, Amy, we have X number of students at level 3 or level 4. That's really good for us, okay, in regards to achievement levels. But growth targets are where we actually take the same cohorts of students from one year to the next, and we say, how did they grow on whatever level they're at? So on the next slide, and if you could click it one more time, Grant, because it will highlight. There you go. So let me show you this. So this is what the State Department, because this is about all students growing. This isn't about various cohorts, okay? So let me just identify, if you look at the red highlighted on your sheet, what this is saying is that I have a student who on that given day when they're given the assessment scores within that range. The expectation is by the time they take this next year, they should grow 71 points. Okay? Now it doesn't matter within that range where they are. They could be at 2,331 or they could be at 2,366 at the low end or the high end. The expectation is any student achieving within that range is expected to grow by 71 in the next year. What's really important is there's targets for every level. So where our kids are in regards to a level 4, so if you sort of go forward and you look at a level 4, what you'll notice is if I'm at a 7 and I receive a 2,490 range, there is still an expectation that I am growing as a level 4 student. That every child, no matter what level they performed on that day, needs to be growing. We have tried really hard to do this ourselves as a district and over time, where we try and take scale scores and we compare 3rd grade from last year to 3rd grade this year. Not going to work, different cohorts of kids. Or we try and find 5th grade from last year, we can get those cohorts of students and we try and compare a scale score when they where they got. What's important within this is the fact that we now know what range kids are in and how much they need to grow in order to meet that target. Okay? With that being said, and the same for mathematics. So the same would be true, and Grant, if you could highlight, same would be true for mathematics. So if I'm in 6th grade and I receive a level 2 and I get a 2,479, my expectation is I'm going to grow by 38 the next time I take this assessment. Okay? So now let's shift the conversation. Go ahead, Grant. Middle school. ELA. 794 students tested, grades 5, 6, 7, 8. Growth rate 37.5%. That's the percentage of students meeting their respective growth target. So 37.5% of our students actually met their target. The average percentage of target the students achieved, 53.6%. So 100% would be that they met their target, right? Or you can get over 100, you can get beyond your target, right? And get moved in something. But on average, our students achieved 53.6% of the target that they were aimed to achieve. Okay? That's for ELA. Math, percentage of students meeting their target, 42.1% of them. So now if you flash back to how I presented the scores for the middle school, you could flip back and say, but Amy, you said here in math we were at 62.1% of our population getting a 3 or 4. This isn't about our 3 or 4s. This is about how much did those kids grow, and no matter what level they were in. It's a very different conversation than, yay, these kids got here and we're good with that. Now it's, okay, but is every kid growing? Well, I can tell you as far as a percentage, 37.5% of them are. So it's a very different talking point in regards to that. Then if you flip and you look at our elementary school, you'll see the same. So you will see Flanders, Lily B, and Niantic Center. You will see their growth rates, and you will see the average percentage of target achieved. So on average, that's a percentage that the students achieved. And then the growth rate is a percentage of students meeting their target. So it's great to have a bulk of kids at level 3 or at level 2 or 4 or whatever we want, but are they growing? Or are they staying within a 3 or a 4? I will know that in January when they give me the next round of the growth rate, because I get the growth rate in January too. So I get another indicator as well. So now I'm going to have another cohort to compare to, which is even better, right? Good data practice, you need 3 to 5 years worth of data in order to determine trends over time. So, yes. Mm-hmm.
The growth rate for the entire grade?
No,
you get specific.
no, we have access.
All right, so do they break it down by levels? Like, this is the percentage of kids who were at level 1, who, so.
Oh, yeah.
Would it, so you know then, because one of the things you said was we shouldn't be happy with our achievement rate being where it is for 3 and 4. I would say I'm not, because 30% of our kids are not there. Then I want to know, and then certainly I'm not happy if the kids who are already meeting the expectations or exceeding them. I want them to continue to make growth, but the kids I really want to make growth are the kids who are at level 1 at level 2. So we know whether our level 1s and level 2s are making less growth than our 3s and 4s. And
Yeah, I can tell you the kids who missed it by a point.
okay, so can you generalize and say that our 1s and 2s are making less growth than our 3s and 4s or not?
I wouldn't want to.
Okay,
make
so
that
we
generalization in
haven't,
this
so we haven't analyzed that data yet.
Well, what happens is at our building levels, they have access to data and they're able to analyze at the building level. But I would say I'm not prepared to make generalizations in public in regards to that.
Right,
Yeah.
but our district data team, I'm assuming, is looking at that?
Yeah, so we just did a whole thing in regards to the growth rate and talked about that and having access into that as a data team.
Right, because, I mean, for umpteen years, the biggest, I mean, way back in the CMTs, you would have kids who would start taking the tests in in 3rd grade who were a level 1, and when you looked at them in 8th grade, they were still level 1s. So thank God now we have a system that is insisting on that growth, because nothing breaks your heart more than looking at a kid who stays at a level 1 or a level 2 their entire educational career.
Right.
And so, yay that we're doing this, and I would think that yay, now we can pinpoint if those are the kids who are making less growth, and therefore, what do we have to do to combat that?
The other thing too that I just want to pose and sort of thank the board for supporting, most of the district-wide programs that we're bringing to life in our buildings are growth-based, in the sense that, you know, Johnny logs on, and on that particular, you know, Reading Plus assessment, it's all about him. It's identifying his personal targets, where he needs to grow, his benchmark, his badges. It's about him. So I think for us, it's gonna begin, and it ties to our long-range plan, in the sense that personalized, where we want to be in 5 years. What you're going to find is, as we begin to really move towards that growth mindset, we're going to have to think about our comparisons and how we compare growth, because we are moving towards programs that are very individual as far as that growth and where students go.
So we talked about the children who are growing, and we talked about the kids who are stagnant. Are we going to look at the kids who have grown and now are going backwards?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like in how that's.
Oh, that's.
I the sentence and I can't think of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
And then it disappeared. Yeah, kind of like the whys, like what's going on that they're no longer growing there.
Yeah, yeah, I think the other piece of it too is that we're trying to get to a place where we can't look at this by itself. So even if we might have a cohort of students who are like, oh, we got to keep an eye on this, we always want to look at multiple other data points that allow us to look at this in perspective, so that we can say, I mean, because no offense, this was given on one day in one moment.
Right.
And we also need to look at Johnny throughout the course of the year. We need to look at other assessments we give, so we're actually have a whole picture. Eric?
So I like the measuring of growth, so I think that's right. So you mentioned Reading Plus and these other, technology solutions really give an individual student can grow, because it understands that student's ability and grows with that. But how does it work? So how does it work in a classroom setting? Like, how do we impact growth on a broader basis?
So what's interesting is that even though we're in front of you reporting in regards to these scores, we have to dig much deeper, and oftentimes it's not until we get to that cohort level and we get to identifying students that now we can actually talk about change in regards to instruction, in regards to practices. I will tell you, as part of our curriculum revision cycle, when you are on phase 4, so math, for example, is the content area that there's this year, what they will do all year this year is just analyze math data across the district. So they'll look deeper in regards to our math data over the course of the other years, so that we spent all the year talking about, over multiple years, how have our students achieved in regards to mathematics. Then they'll spend the following year all about how are we teaching mathematics, so that when they get to the curriculum revision process, they'll say, so what did our students tell us? What do we know to be true? How are we teaching it? And what is it we're going to do to modernize and address it on a more global, across the district way? So that, to me, is how we change the instruction in the classroom.
Right.
That's a process for that. Bill, did you have a question?
I just had an observation. I don't want to dwell on chin-ups and push-ups, but that outlier that we jumped from 43 to 85 from 2014 to 2015, but then you look at this page that shows 2014, 2015, and 2015, 2016, and these numbers don't reflect this score over here.
That's because the indicator report that you have your finger on now pulls together our PSIS overall database. So there's multiple other data points that are in there. That's the report that was inaccurate to the state.
Okay.
Whereas the scores that you see for physical fitness or health are imported upon giving the test. So you're seeing PSIS as a larger data system.
So this isn't supposed to be, all right.
Yes,
So there-
yes. Thank you, though.
Bill, did you have a question?
I just want to ask a really simple question. So what I thought I understood you saying is that when Johnny is working, he has his individual needs and wanting to improve, it's only done by putting him in front of, not only done, is it done by basically having him go to his laptop and involved in a program that will teach him what to do?
No.
I'm not verbalizing this
No,
very
so
well.
programs don't replace people in
Well,
districts, so we want people. Let me just say that in the budget season, we want people, okay? In regards to that, okay? But what we do need to do is we need to think about the program, so if we are gonna engage our children in something online, it needs to be really purposeful as to why we're engaging them in that program, and that program needs to be individual to their needs.
Okay,
So-
so wait a minute, let me ask you this, so like you have 31, well, let's say 25 kids in a classroom, that's a lot on a staff to basically, I mean, how do you do, I'm not a teacher, how do you do that? Where you, I mean, is it like I don't know, I'm just sitting here listening to you, I'm going, God, it's a miracle of God I graduated.
So most classrooms will function in a station-based or a rotation-based, so that students can rotate in. There might be devices that are available for, these 5 colleagues are going to be on, these students are going to be on Reading Plus for 20 minutes, and then they're going to move to another station, and they're going to get guided reading with their teacher, and then the next group of 5 is going to come in. But it's a constant, it's a cyclical instructional model, for lack of a better word. I'm describing it.
Reading workshops.
Yes.
It's just a lot, I think, for a
It
day.
is. That would be great.
I've always thought it was teaching is
That would be a great, yeah.
Amy, I think that we don't, I think that the question about how does, what Tim said about, how does the data how do we make the changes, and what you said about curriculum, is that you can't minimize the impact that this kind of data gives you towards instruction. Because what Amy's saying is, for instance, if you take math, okay, so the test also has different objectives and things that they have to do. So if you see that kids are not making, and correct me if I'm wrong, if kids are not making growth in 5th grade when they're learning, I don't know, I'm going to make something up.
Ratios and proportions.
Right, ratios and proportion, or whatever. And now I'm in the math department, and I'm talking about revising curriculum. Now, I'm looking at data that's telling me that maybe the way we're teaching this is not giving us the bang for our buck.
Right.
Or even more striking might be, a bunch of teachers are sitting around and looking at data, and there's 2 teachers whose kids do really well on ratio and proportion in 5th grade, and then 2 other teachers whose kids don't do quite as well. So now they're writing curriculum and they're having this discussion, and they're saying to each other, well, you seem to be having a lot more success than I am. Let's talk about, and this relates to your walks that you do as well, when you go from school to school and you're looking to see what teachers are doing. So this is where data has huge impact down the road on instruction, because then teachers are looking at these particular areas and saying, okay, who's doing best practice at teaching this and getting this results? And so what you end in with this marvelous thing that Amy is doing and the teachers are doing in terms of curriculum revision and using the data is that you end up with teaching practice that gets positive results.
Yeah, the gold is in the curriculum revision process.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not about so much about giving kids, teachers being able to individualize for all these kids. It's more about overall honing the craft of the entire teaching staff to improve the way we deliver instruction to all the kids.
I think it was well said.
I have, I guess, clarification point. So you have 3 kids, A, B, and C. A is growing the way they're supposed to be growing. B is stagnant, and C is backtracking. In elementary, I'm guessing that the team will sit there and, like, that 3rd grade team or 4th grade team will sit there and analyze that and figure out how to keep them static, how to make them grow, and how to get them back. At the middle school, would it be the Kiva who does that, or would it be the whole English department at the middle school and at the high school levels? Because that's a whole different jump.
So at the middle school level, it would be their team. So the team would sit down. They would do some at the department level, but that would be more to look at strands and to look at topics, to come up with ideas about that. And what you were talking about, cross-pollinating their ideas about, I see you did really well with your estimation unit with your kids. So can I share some of those strategies? But in terms of drilling down to the individual students, that's going to happen at the team.
And what about the high school level? Because that's a whole nother jump. Would that be CILs who are looking at that student? Would that be an English teacher specific? Or like, would it be a whole group of English teachers or math teachers who are doing that?
Combinations, a couple different opportunities that they have. It could be through SRBI, it could be No Red Ink, it could be, we have different programs that will look at Reading Plus.
Right, but who's looking at the data? Is it a team?
Departments, teachers, different teams, like SRBI teams. When we get ready for a transition from one grade to the next for course recommendations, there are times for teachers to talk with sending teachers, to talk with receiving teachers about the advanced students. We start the year off with, every year off, the last couple of years off with data mining on students. Gives teachers an opportunity to drill down on their students that they are getting. Not only the test results, the data that we've compiled, but also we go and talk to their teachers from the previous year. So there's a few different models or mechanisms.
Okay. Just because I know that there's such a jump between elementary school to middle school to high school that the whole student cohort changes, so does the teaching cohort.
We do that with our high need students as well. We meet with Mike's folks in the springtime. So all those high need students, we meet. Mike sends a team of counselors, school psychologists, teachers down to our building, and then we do traditional meetings to learn about specific academic things, but then also about learning styles and supports that we put in place.
But you're looking at all 3 sets, not just the high needs or the you're looking at all three sets. The kids who are achieving their goal, you're looking at how to keep them going. You're looking at the kids who are static and how to get them up, and you're looking at the kids who have digressed and how to get them back up. You're not just looking at the bottom two, you're looking at all three, right? I'm hoping.
And then at the district level, that's why I have the content-based committees. When I have elementary, middle, high reps all in the same room looking at data. So
Just because I know that's a lot for the data team to look at. It should be in the schools.
Yeah, we have multiple, I mean, we are.
And Lynn says we
looking
have
at the data.
school
And then-
improvement plans now.
Right.
They're helping to harness all that work as well.
You also have Wednesday meetings in most of your buildings, so you also have staff meetings for which that can be facilitated. You also have PLCs, professional learning communities that come together, they look at the data, they look at identify strategies. That's across the entire district.
Right, because I know once you leave the elementary level, your numbers go up. So you have more students to look at. So I'm just wondering how it's done at each level.
I just want to piggyback just a little bit because transition teams have been put in place from my recollection this past year. Or is that correct? For elementary schools, elementary students, no matter what school they're going from, but going into the middle schools. That way, there's a conversation between the teams of teachers at the 5th grade level with the 4th grade teachers, because I am aware in the past that hasn't happened. So with the new focus that we're going on, I want to make sure that that is in addition to all these other wonderful components that we're putting in place, but that is in place,
Yeah,
right?
that is the conversation that we've been having with the middle school, and I know the middle school and the high school began those conversations as well, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the transition
Yeah.
teams are in place because they were by.
Yeah, yeah, so those are the conversations.
New, yeah.
Correct, they
I
are.
was gonna say, there wasn't anything before, it was like, bam, you hit the wall on that.
Well, it was more no, it was more individual, and our 4th grade teachers and our 5th grade teachers certainly did talk. The issue was that the 5th grade teacher that maybe they were talking to maybe wasn't the teacher who was actually going to have the students, so that's some of the thing of how we're going to figure that out logistically, so that's sort of where we are with that. But there was definitely a communication.
Yeah.
It's just, where did that communication go? In some instances, sometimes it, it made it to the right person, sometimes not.
All right.
Any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
And I would also assume, because we've talked about this before, that that whole transition and talking about kids will be greatly enhanced once you have your common assessments across the district in the system, so that teachers can look at the same thing and say, just call up that kid and say, ooh, this kid is, so I'm assuming that will greatly improve. Because then it's just not people talking at each other, but it's.
You can see it,
It's that
absolutely.
common data to look at.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, very, very.
Thank you.
I'm excited
Very-
about the data. I mean, I'm not data-driven, you know that, but I'm very excited about that. We're going to be able to
Thank you for
help
your
a lot of
questions.
kids. Yeah.
That concludes the
Discussion action items. Administrator report.
A few items, we're still working on our current budget issue on the $545,000 withholding, so we should have some information to bring it to FFO to start some conversations so at our next FFO committee, we'll have a breakdown, working on that and talking amongst the groups, so we'll have some information to bring forth then, where that stands. Microgrid, I had sent my Friday update,
Right.
unfortunately.
Sad.
Yeah, that went south.
That's unfortunate.
It was
Yeah,
unfortunate,
so-
but, I think just the timeline was too tight, and Doosan was the company that really was the one that brought this to us, and they didn't even bid on it.
I was
Is this
surprised that
something
they
that we
didn't bid on their own
revisit?
project.
I know, yeah, definitely.
So we
Yep.
can revisit it.
Next year,
Yeah, right.
we'll be looking at it again.
If the funding is.
I think they felt that the timing just wasn't going to work. And we had some questions too, both myself, I was concerned about the noise level, because this container unit, you're talking about putting it right next to and there was some back and forth when we walked through with all the groups that were thinking about bidding.
there was some conversation that, oh, this is much louder than you think, sort of thing, so.
Oh, they said it would be like a soft.
That's the thing that they made it, yeah.
Because I specifically asked about noise pollution.
Yeah, so so Joe Burgon and I wanted to go, and we were planning to go out the day after we got back from Thanksgiving to go to Middletown to listen to the one in Middletown. But that was when we got the information that they canceled, so we didn't end up going. So we're on hold. We'll see if it comes back around, hopefully next year, and we'll go from there. And then just want to pass these out quick. The middle school dropped these off today. Some community service notes. So this one's for Mr. Littlefield. Well, it says Miss Littlefield, but it's for Mr. Littlefield. But let me pass a couple of these down, and you can open them. Yeah, we thought these were great. So there's all cards from basically thank you notes to each of you. There's no order, or you can open any one and
I want one.
take a look here. Here's another one, Jamie. Pass that down. Take a look at it. So I wanted to share those. I thought those were great. I perused through them this afternoon, so I received one or two as well. So it was nice. So Mr. Bickett, thank you very much to Mrs. Tukey and
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
That's super nice.
Appreciate them passing those. Very nice.
I still have my cards from 2016. Kids
that
brought
one, the
them in.
kids
Yeah, remember that?
I still have them.
Yeah.
I still have the thank you notes from Lily B.
Yep.
The class. Yeah, the card. I mean, thanks.
Very good.
So you can keep those and hold on to those. That's all. That's all I have to report. So right now.
Amy, anything else?
Probably.
I have overwhelmed you enough.
How are we doing? We're still here? We're still gathered, right? Good, good. And Anna?
Well, Jeff gave you the update on the budget. The
Yeah.
only other thing is the roof project. That is finally all closed out. Got word that that's done, just going to put in for the progress payment. in
Wait,
the
say
next-
again what you just said?
Central office
roof project.
Project.
Oh, okay. It's all closed out.
Yay.
Yeah, so we're good.
Really good.
Good, good. Committee reports, I think we're
think we have
nothing to report on that. With communications notices, that brings us to board comment or
Board
future
comments.
agenda topics. Jamie?
The Board of Directors for the Miracle League Field is meeting this Thursday night at 7 o'clock at Park and Rec,
Oh, okay, good, good.
if anyone's interested.
Bill?
I just had a question, thinking about all these different initiatives going on.
Yeah.
Do we have any feedback from Diane on the planetarium? or-
Oh, there's a meeting
yeah,
coming up, the 5th, right? Am I right?
She had a meeting the 30th, I know
Yeah,
that.
there's another one coming.
Yeah, we need to get some information from her. We said December, January, as a kind of a recap, because we've got to get some.
Is it too late for shopping?
Whether we're moving forward with that, and use of that. So I'll check back with her to see where she stands. But no, I've not heard anything of late. So, but yeah, you're right. There is a meeting coming up that she had, I think, with.
Yeah, they just had.
She had one Thursday, the 30th, or whatever Thursday.
I have
Yeah.
information. But maybe we can, we'll look at either the next meeting in December, that first meeting in January.
Maybe,
where we
yeah,
can have her
January, yeah.
come back and give us a status up there. I can bring a status update as to where we stand.
Good. Other comments? Good. All right. Public comment? Public comment, and we do not have a need for an executive session, so.
Seriously? I make a motion to adjourn.
Candace seconds it. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Woo-hoo! 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 Woo-hoo!